Ever get that like little shiver down your spine when you think about how secure or not secure your phone really is?
Yeah, I think we've all had that moment.
Well, buckle up because today we are diving deep, and I mean deep into the world of SS7. We're going to uncover just how vulnerable those networks our phones rely on really are.
And what's interesting about this topic, this isn't some far off, theoretical thing. This is a very real vulnerability that exists right now, and it affects pretty much everyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And to help us navigate this, we've got two really cool things to dig into. First up, we've got this awesome video investigation. Veritasium and Linus Tech Tips teamed up, and they actually show a real phone hack.
Pretty cool, right?
It's super cool and a little terrifying. And then we're also going to be looking at this academic paper. It's called Spoofing Against Spoofing Towards Caller ID Verification in Heterogeneous Telecommunication Systems.
Mhm.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
Right. Catchy title.
But it's a really interesting paper because it actually proposes a potential solution to all of this.
And the paper makes a really, really crucial point right up front. SS7, the system we're talking about, the one at the heart of all this, it was designed in the 1980s.
The 80s.
Yeah, think about that in terms of technology. Back then, the idea of smartphones, billions of devices, it was basically science fiction.
Yeah, they were worried about whether their shoulder pads were big enough, not global networks. So using a system from the 80s for our phones today, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like trying to fit like the entire population of the Earth into a Volkswagen Beetle.
You're not wrong.
It's a recipe for disaster. But before we even get into SS7 and all of that, this whole thing, phone hacking, it didn't start in the 80s, right? Didn't this all begin with a couple of guys, I think their names were Steve, tinkering around in a garage?
You're talking about Wozniak and Jobs, right? The Apple guys.
Yeah, them.
Yeah, so before Apple, their first, tech project, it was this thing called a blue box. Basically, they built this device that let them make free long-distance calls.
Wait, seriously, so instead of paying for expensive international calls, they just, hacked the system?
Basically. They exploited a flaw in how phones worked back then, the pulse-based system, and it tricked the phone company into giving them free calls.
That's kind of genius.
It was.
Totally illegal, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it's wild to think that Job actually said that their experience with that blue box, it was crucial to them starting Apple. It makes you wonder, would we even have iPhones today if those two hadn't messed around with phone networks way back then?
That's a whole other deep dive.
Right.
But it does highlight something really important. Phone networks have always been a target for this kind of thing. And as technology has gotten more complex, well, so have the attacks and the potential damage.
Yeah, it's a little unnerving, if you put it like that. So we've gone from these blue boxes to, rotary phones.
Right, and then from rotary to touch tone. And all of that led to the development of SS7, the signaling system number 7. And that system, believe it or not, it still underpins a huge chunk of our 2G and 3G networks today.
So this system that was designed in the 80s, when, leg warmers and shoulder pads were all the rage, it's still running things behind the scenes.
You got it.
Okay, that's more than a little unnerving.
The thing is, back then, they designed SS7 with this inherent trust built in. They assumed that everyone on the network was, trustworthy. And that is a huge part of why it's so vulnerable today.
It's like leaving all your valuables out on the porch because you trust that your neighbors would never even think of swiping them.
Exactly. It's a system built on trust that just doesn't hold up in today's world.
And speaking of trust, or the lack thereof, the Veritasium video dives into a pretty intense, real-world example. The story of Princess Latifah, the daughter of the ruler of Dubai.
Oh, right, the one who tried to escape.
Yeah, exactly. So she's trying to escape from her father and start a new life. And it sounds like an SS7 attack might have been used to locate the yacht she was on.
Yeah, it's a chilling example of how these vulnerabilities can be exploited. And the stakes are so much higher now. We're not just talking about prank calls or minor security breaches.
No, definitely not. This is serious stuff. Okay, so let's break down this whole walled garden approach, because that seems to be at the heart of why SS7 is so susceptible to these attacks.
So imagine, right, a gated community, super exclusive, super secure, in theory at least. That was kind of the idea behind SS7 when it was designed. It was only accessible to these major telecom operators, a closed network where everyone knew and trusted each other.
Makes sense for the time.
Right, so each of these operators, they were assigned something called a global title, or a GT. It's basically like an address within this walled garden.
So if you knew someone's GT, you could send them a message or even connect a call.
Pretty much. But here's the thing. That walled garden, Not so walled anymore.
Oh, sensing a butt coming.
But that once exclusive gated community, it's now this sprawling megacity with like a zillion different entrances and exits.
And not the best security.
Not at all. The paper we looked at, it actually points out that there are now over 1,200 operators and something like 4,500 interconnected networks, all relying on SS7.
Whoa, 4,000. That's a lot of trust to put in a system that was designed when, people were still using floppy disks.
I know, right? And the worst part is it's become surprisingly easy for bad actors to obtain a legitimate GT.
Wait, seriously, how does that even happen?
Well, there are a few ways, but the point is, once they have it, they're in. They're treated like any other trusted member of the network.
So we've gone from a walled garden to, like a crowded public park? Anyone can get in?
Pretty much. And the security guards, they're still using walkie-talkies from the 80s.
Not exactly reassuring. So, knowing how vulnerable this system is, how did these attacks actually play out in the real world? So this Veritasium video, it's pretty wild. They actually show you how an SS7 attack works, step by step.
Yeah, and they break it down into these 3 phases. Infiltrate, gain trust, attack.
Simple but effective.
Exactly. And what's even scarier is that this was just one type of attack. They mentioned another one, location tracking, that they couldn't even show on camera.
Oh yeah, right. Things just got real. But okay, before we freak out too much about that, let's back up for a sec. Walk me through how this hack on Linus's phone actually worked.
Sure. So first, they needed to get into the SS7 network. And they did that by, getting their hands on a compromised GT.
Like we were talking about, how it's easier than you'd think to get one.
Exactly. Then they needed Linus's IMSI.
His what's-he?
His IMSI, it stands for International Mobile Subscriber Identity. It's basically like a unique ID for your phone on the network.
Okay, so like a digital fingerprint.
Exactly. And once they have that, they can basically trick the system into thinking they're your phone.
And that's how they were able to, redirect his calls and messages?
Exactly. They routed his call without his phone even ringing.
That's the part that got me. They just, intercepted his calls and messages, and he had no idea.
And then they grabbed his 2-factor authentication code in real time.
Wait, so even my 2FA isn't safe?
It depends on how you're getting those codes. If it's through SMS, then unfortunately, no, not really.
So my phone is like Fort Knox, but with the doors wide open.
Pretty much. But hey, that's why this spoofing against spoofing paper is so important, because they actually propose a solution.
Okay, tell me more.
So their solution is called Caller ID Verification, or CIV, and it basically aims to verify the caller's identity before the call even goes through.
So before my phone even rings?
Exactly. It's like a digital fingerprint scan, but for your phone number.
Okay, I like it. But what about this location tracking thing? That seems even sketchier.
Yeah, so most people think that if they turn off GPS on their phone, they're basically off the grid.
Right, that's what I always thought.
But it's not quite that simple.
Oh.
Your phone, whether you realize it or not, it's constantly sending out signals.
What kind of signals?
Well, it's communicating with cell towers, trying to find the strongest connection. And by analyzing the signals from multiple towers, they can pinpoint your location, even without GPS.
Wait, so even if I turn off location services, my phone is still basically broadcasting where I am?
You got it. And it can be surprisingly accurate.
You're kidding.
Not at all. I mean, they mentioned in the video how a U.S. congressman had his location tracked using this exact method.
Okay, that's it. I'm throwing my phone in the ocean.
It's definitely unsettling, but awareness is key.
You're right. Knowledge is power. But knowing all of this, it really makes you realize how important digital security really is.
Absolutely.
And that we can't just rely on phone companies or whoever to protect us. We have to be proactive.
100%.
So where do we go from here? Is there any hope?
There is, don't worry. So first of all, ditch SMS-based 2-factor authentication.
Got it. Already on it. What else?
If you're really concerned about privacy, encrypted messaging apps are a good option. Things like Signal or WhatsApp.
Good to know. But it sounds like this is a much bigger issue. We need a total system upgrade.
Yeah, getting rid of these outdated 2G and 3G systems would be huge, and adopting these newer, more secure protocols, things that were actually built for how we use technology today.
Right, and that's where solutions like CIV come in.
Exactly. We need more research, more development, and we need to move away from this whole trust everyone on the network thing. It just doesn't work anymore.
Well, this has been a wild ride. Thank you so much for walking us through all of this. I have to say, this deep dive has been a little terrifying, but I feel a lot more informed, which I guess is a good thing.
That's the goal.
And for everyone listening, stay safe out there and maybe think twice before you answer that unknown number.